Newport News Shipbuilding, a division of Huntington Ingalls Industries, is the largest industrial employer in Virginia, and sole designer, builder and refueler of U.S. Navy aircraft carriers and one of two providers of U.S.Navy submarines. Founded as the Chesapeake Dry Dock and Construction Co. in 1886, Newport News Shipbuilding has built in more than 800 ships, including both naval and commercial ships. Located in Newport News, Virginia, the facilities span more than 550 acres, strategically positioned in one of the great harbors of the East Coast. The shipyard is a major employer not only for the lower Virginia Peninsula, but also portions of Hampton Roads south of the James River and the harbor portions of the Middle Peninsula region, and even some northeastern counties of North Carolina. The shipyard is building the aircraft carriers U.S. Gerald R. Ford and the U.S. John F. Kennedy. In 2013, Newport News Shipbuilding began the deactivation of the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier U.S. Enterprise, which it also built. Newport News Shipbuilding also performs refueling and complex overhaul work on Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. This is a 4-year vessel renewal program that not only involves refueling of the vessel's nuclear reactors but also includes modernization work. The yard has completed RCOH for 4 Nimitz-class carriers. As of May 2016, this work was underway for the 5th Nimitz-class vessel, the U.S. Abraham Lincoln. Also under construction at Newport News Shipbuilding are the Virginia-class submarines Indiana and Washington. History. Industrialist Collis P. Huntington provided crucial funding to complete the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad from Richmond, Virginia to the Ohio River in the early 1870s. Although originally built for general commerce, this C&O rail link to the Midwest was soon also being used to transport bituminous coal from the previously isolated coal fields adjacent to the New River and the Kanawha River in West Virginia. In 1881, the peninsula extension of the C&O was built from Richmond down the Virginia Peninsula to reach a new coal pier on Hampton Roads in Warwick County near the small unincorporated community of Newport News Point. However, building the railroad and coal pier was only the first part of Huntington's dreams for Newport News. The shipyard's early years. In 1886 he built a shipyard to repair ships servicing this transportation hub. In 1891 Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company delivered its first ship, the tugboat Dorothy. By 1897 NNS had built 3 warships for the U.S. Navy, U.S. Nashville, Wilmington and Helena. When Collis died in 1900, his nephew Henry E. Huntington inherited much of his uncle's fortune. He also married Collis' widow Arabella Huntington and assumed Collis's leadership role with Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company. Under Henry Huntington's leadership, growth continued. In 1906 the revolutionary HMS Dreadnought launched a great naval race worldwide. Between 1907 and 1923, Newport News built 6 of the U.S. Navy's total of 22 dreadnoughts, U.S. Delaware, Texas, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, Maryland and West Virginia. All but the first were in active service in World War II. In 1907 President Theodore Roosevelt sent the Great White Fleet on its round-the-world voyage. NNS had built 7 of its 16 battleships. In 1914 NNS built SS Medina for the Mallory Steamship Company. As MV Doulos she was until 2009 the world's oldest active ocean-faring passenger ship. Newport News and the shipyard. In the early years, leaders of the Newport News community and those of the shipyard were virtually interchangeable. Shipyard President Walter A. Post served from March 9, 1911 to February 12, 1912, when he died. Earlier, he had come to the area as one of the builders of the C&O Railway's terminals, and had served as the first mayor of Newport News after it became an independent city in 1896. It was on March 14, 1914 that Albert L. Hopkins, a young New Yorker trained in engineering, succeeded Post as president of the company. In May 1915, while traveling to England on shipyard business, aboard RMS Lusitania, Albert L. Hopkins' tenure in life ended prematurely when the ship was torpedoed and sunk by a German U-boat off Queenstown on the Irish coast. His assistant, Fred Gauntlet, was also on board, but was able to swim to safety. Homer Lenoir Ferguson was company vice president when Hopkins died, and assumed the presidency the following August. He saw the company through both World Wars, became a noted community leader, and was a co-founder of the Mariners Museum with Archer Huntington. He served until July 31, 1946. After the Second World War had ended on both the European and Pacific fronts. Just northwest of the shipyard, Hilton Village, one of the first planned communities in the country, was built by the federal government to house shipyard workers in 1918. The planners met with the wives of shipyard workers. Based on their input, 14 house plans were designed for the projected 500 English village-style homes. After the war, in 1922, Henry Huntington acquired it from the government, and helped facilitate the sale of the homes to shipyard employees and other local residents. 3 streets that were named after Post, Hopkins, and Ferguson. Navy orders during and after the First World War. The Lusitania incident was among the events that brought the United States into World War I. Between 1918 and 1920, NNS delivered 25 destroyers, and after the war it began building aircraft carriers. US Ranger was delivered in 1934, and NNS went on to build Yorktown and Enterprise. Ocean liners. After the First World War, NNS completed a major reconditioning and refurbishment of the ocean liner SS Leviathan. Before the war she had been the German liner Vaterland, but the start of hostilities found her laid up in New York Harbor, and she had been seized by the U.S. government in 1917 and converted into a troop ship. War duty age meant that all wiring, plumbing, and interior layouts were stripped and redesigned, while her hull was strengthened and her boilers converted from coal to oil while being refurbished. Virtually a new ship emerged from NNS in 1923, and the SS Leviathan became the flagship of United States lines. In 1927, NNS launched the world's first significant turbo-electric ocean liner, Panama Pacific Line's 17,833 GRTSS California. At the time she was also the largest merchant ship yet built in the USA, although she was a modest size compared with the biggest European liners of her era. NNS launched California's sister ships Virginia in 1928 and Pennsylvania in 1929. NNS followed them by launching 2 even larger turboelectric liners for Dollar Steamship Company, the 21,936 GRTSS President Hoover in 1930, followed by her sister President Coolidge in 1931. The SS America was launched in 1939 and entered service with United States lines shortly before World War II, but soon returned to the shipyard for conversion to a troop ship. US West Point. Navy orders before and during the Second World War. By 1940 the Navy had ordered a battleship, 7 more aircraft carriers and 4 cruisers. During World War II, NNS built ships as part of the government's emergency shipbuilding program, and swiftly filled requests for Liberty ships that were needed during the war. It founded the North Carolina Shipbuilding Company, an emergency yard on the banks of the Cape Fear River, and launched its first Liberty ship before the end of 1941, building 243 ships in all, including 186 Liberties. For its contributions during the war, the Navy awarded the company its E pennant for excellence in shipbuilding. NNS ranked 23rd among United States corporations in the value of wartime production contracts. Post-war ships. In the post-war years, NNS built the famous passenger liner SS United States, which set a transatlantic speed record that still stands today. In 1954, NNS Westinghouse and the Navy developed and built a prototype nuclear reactor for a carrier propulsion system. NNS designed the US Enterprise in 1960. In 1959, NNS launched its first nuclear-powered submarine, US-Shark, as well as the ballistic missile submarine US-Robert E. Lee. In the 1970s, NNS launched two of the largest tankers ever built in the Western Hemisphere, and also constructed three liquefied natural gas carriers at over 390,000 deadweight tons, the largest ever built in the United States. NNS and Westinghouse Electric Company jointly form offshore power systems to build floating nuclear power plants for public service electric and gas company. In the 1980s, NNS produced a variety of Navy products, including Nimitz-class aircraft carrier nuclear aircraft carriers and Los Angeles-class submarine nuclear attack submarines. Since 1999, the shipyard has produced only warships for the Navy. Submarine building problems. In 2007, the U.S. Navy found that workers had used incorrect metal to fuse together pipes and joints on submarines under construction, and this could have led to cracking and leaks. In 2009, it was found that bolts and fasteners in weapons handling systems on 4 Navy submarines, including US, New Mexico, North Carolina, Missouri, and California, were installed incorrectly, delaying the launching of the boats whilst the problems were corrected. Mergers, realignment, and spin-off. In 1968, Newport News merged with Tenneco Corporation. In 1996, Tenneco initiated a spin-off of Newport News into an independent company. On the 7th of November 2001, Northrop Grumman entered an agreement to purchase Newport News Shipbuilding for a total of $2.6 billion. This acquisition created a $4 billion shipyard called Northrop Grumman Newport News. On the 28th of January 2008, Northrop Grumman Corporation realigned its two shipbuilding sectors, Northrop Grumman Newport News and Northrop Grumman Ship Systems, into a single sector called Northrop Grumman Shipbuilding. On March 15, 2011, Northrop Grumman announced the spin-off of this sector into a separate company, Huntington Ingalls Industries, Inc., and on March 31 began operating as a separate company and publicly trading under the symbol HII on the New York Stock Exchange. Ships built at the Newport News Yard include Tugboat Dorothy, the shipyard's first vessel, delivered in 1891, on display in yard. US Kearsarge, lead battleship of its class, launched in 1898. US Kentucky, Kearsarge-class battleship, launched in 1898. US Illinois, lead battleship of its class, launched in 1898. US Arkansas, lead monitor of its class, and one of the last monitors built for the U.S. Navy, launched in 1900. US Maryland, Pennsylvania-class cruiser, launched in 1903. US West Virginia, Pennsylvania-class cruiser, launched in 1903. US Virginia, lead battleship of its class, launched in 1904. US Minnesota, Connecticut-class battleship, launched in 1905. US North Carolina, Tennessee-class cruiser, launched in 1906. US Montana, Tennessee-class cruiser, launched in 1906. SS Georgia, a crude oil tanker, launched in 1908. US Delaware, lead battleship of its class, launched in 1909. US Proteus-class collier, launched in 1911. US Texas, battleship of the New York class, launched in 1912, the only surviving dreadnought battleship. US Nereus, Proteus-class collier, launched in 1913. Cargo ship SS Medina for the Mallory Steamship Company in 1914, currently the passenger ship MV de los Foes, in service until 2009. US Pennsylvania, lead battleship of its class, launched in 1915. US Mississippi, New Mexico-class battleship, launched in 1917. Wicks-class destroyers for the Navy in 1918. US Maryland, Colorado-class battleship, launched in 1920. US West Virginia, Colorado-class battleship, launched in 1921. Turboelectric ocean liners for Panama Pacific Line. SS Pennsylvania, launched in 1929. US Houston, Northampton-class cruiser, launched in 1929. US Augusta, Northampton-class cruiser, launched in 1930. Turboelectric ocean liners for Dollar Steamship Company. SS President Coolidge, launched in 1931. Turboelectric passenger and cargo liners for United Fruit Company. SS Jamaica, launched in 1933. US Ranger, the first purpose-built aircraft carrier of the United States Navy, launched in 1933. US Boise, Brooklyn-class cruiser, launched in 1936. Yorktown-class aircraft carriers. US Hornet, launched in 1940. US Mustine, Sims-class destroyer, launched in 1938. US Russell, Sims-class destroyer, launched in 1938. US Indiana, South Dakota-class battleship, launched in 1941. Essex-class aircraft carriers. US Leyte, launched in 1945. Liberty ship transports for the Allies during World War II. Midway-class aircraft carriers. US Coral Sea, launched in 1946. Ocean liners for United States Lines. SS United States, launched in 1951. Holder of the Blue Reband. Forrestal-class aircraft carriers. US Ranger, launched in 1956. Submarine. US Shark in 1959, the yard's first nuclear-powered submarine. Ballistic missile submarine. US Robert E. Lee, launched in 1959. US Enterprise, launched in 1960, the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. US America, launched in 1964. US John F. Kennedy, launched in 1967. All 10 Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. US Dwight D. US John C. US Harry US George H. W. Bush, launched in 2006. Gerald R. Ford-class nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. US Gerald R. Ford node, under construction. US John F. Kennedy node, under construction. Los Angeles-class nuclear-powered submarines. Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines. US Arkansas, launched in 1978. USDS Empire State via Bronx, New York. Gallery, ships rebuilt. SS Jacona, the first seagoing electric power plant for emergencies.